Good evening, Encore. Good evening, Encore, yeah. Hey, this is really exciting. Can we just take a moment? Did you guys hear what our lead pastor just said? That we now added 2 more locations. Yes. That means more people are coming to know Jesus. It means more people are going to believe in Jesus, become like Jesus, belong to Jesus' family, and live beyond themselves like Jesus. And what's also exciting is that you help do that. Your giving of your time, of your abilities, of your effort, of everything that you are, and your finances helped make that happen. So, hey, way to be the church, guys. Way to be the church. Yes, super, super excited for that. And like Chuck just told us, we are starting a new series called The Great Commandments. Now, you know the Great Commandments, right? Especially if you've been around the church world long enough, you know them, right? Love God, love people. But in order for us to do those well and to do those effectively, with power and with passion, we need to understand first that God loves us. He loves you individually. He loves me individually, and we have to understand this. So here's the first image I want you to see. And actually, I need participation from all of us. Can you put that first image up, please? That God loves me. So in a second, it's going to come up here, and that's what I want us to say together, okay? I want us all to say this. Ready? Say this on 3. 1, 2, 3. I got to tell you, you guys were better than the 11 a.m. service. Good job. All right. I'm going to take it on the first go. That was really good. Very solid, very good, strong tone. But this is huge, guys. This is massive. Now, when we talk about this, there are some of you that might be thinking, this isn't deep enough. We need to make this deeper. Interesting things that the Apostle Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 3. He writes a letter to these Christians in the city of Ephesus, and he says in chapter 3 that we can't even begin to understand how deep the love of God is. That your whole life will begin to change the deeper you begin to understand and dive into the love of God. This is as deep as you can go because this will change everything about you. It will truly revolutionize your life. And I hope that you'll leave here not saying, I wish we went deeper, but saying, I'm so glad we spoke about this today. I'm so glad I encountered God's love. Now, there's another group of you that you walked in here and you're thinking, there is no way this applies to me. Because you know what? If God knew what I did yesterday, if God knows what I really think about, because if he really sees my thoughts, there is no way he's going to love me. If God, look, what I did last year or what I did 5 years ago, the person that I was, there is no way God could love me. And so you're here at church hoping that God loves you, so you check off the list of coming to church, of doing all the quote-unquote right things, hoping that God loves you. And can I just say, that's a lie. And my hope and my prayer is that you just discover the love of God this evening. That something supernatural happens to you. That the love of God just rattles your soul and it wakes you up to realize, I'm loved by God. Then there's a group of you, you're so excited we're talking about this topic. You're just like, yes, because you're in love with God and God loves you and you're just ready for us to go. And here's the thing we need to understand about God's love. That in order for it to be powerful, in order for it to be life-changing, you have to allow it to get personal. You have to. You have to. If not, it won't affect you the way it should. Jesus had an earthly friend named John. When Jesus went on earth, he had a friend named John, and John wrote the New Testament Gospel of John. And in John 3:16, we have the most famous verse of all, right? You guys know John 3:16, super famous. Also, John let the whole world know about this, quoted Jesus, but thank you, Tebow, for helping it get some movement too, right? Right? John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him won't die, but have eternal life. The person who says yes to Jesus, listen, the moment you say, Jesus, I want to follow you for the rest of my life. I believe that you existed. I believe you're the Son of God. I believe you died and rose again, that you love me. The moment you acknowledge that understanding of who Jesus is, you are now connected to God. You are now grafted into his family. You become adopted into his family. You're not outside of God's love. The power and love of God now becomes personal because of Jesus Christ. But what you need to know about that word love in John 3:16 is actually the word agape. It's a Greek word, agape. And it's a one-way street kind of love. It's a one-way street. Here's what I mean by it. No matter how you respond back to God, he's still going to love you. So you could give God the finger, you could turn your back on God, you could worship Satan. He's still going to love you. He's still going to love you. But he wants that love to get personal, because when it gets personal, it gets powerful. We know that to be true. Because what I'm about to talk about is our core idea. We're going to see some examples of this. And now our core idea is not going to be on the screen, but I want you to write it down. But I want to play a game, okay? Are you guys okay with playing a game? Okay, good. So Sean is going to play a song, which is going to give us the clue of what our core idea is this evening. Go ahead, Sean. Anybody knows what this is? Raise your hand if you know what this is. Come on, participate. Raise your hand. All right, Sean, go ahead. Thank you. Joyce, you raised your hand. So what's the song? The Power of Love. All right, for bonus points, who sang it? Huey Lewis and the News. Right. We're talking about the power of love. We all know love to be powerful. Some of you are like, I've never heard that song. Watch Back to the Future Part 1, okay? That's a good reference point right there. But for real, we're going to talk about the power of love. And God is so amazing that he allows human experiences to give us a glimpse of the variety and the power of his love. We see it in a husband and wife. I knew this guy named Charlie. He was going to get baptized at the church that I worked at before here. And I just wanted to know his story. And he was telling me that he was a drug addict. And he actually loved drugs more than he loved his wife. And at the time when they were dating, he hit rock bottom so bad. But because his girlfriend at the time, which later became his wife, loved him through the nastiness, the darkness, the ugliness of his life, the power of love inspired him to get clean and choose her over drugs. Pretty powerful story. We see the power of love between a child and a parent. I have a friend of mine named James that several years back, he and his wife moved their 5 kids from the D.C. area to come down to Central Florida to be near his aging parents. And James would spend the weekends going to visit his parents, taking one of his 5 kids, spending money to take care of his parents, investing in his aging parents before they passed away. The power of love will rearrange your entire life. And you know it's worth it. You know it's worth it because the power of love reminds you that it's worth it. We see the power of love between friends. And this is more my story. I failed out of UCF twice. Once wasn't enough. And, and when we fail out of school, especially as a young 20-year-old, you just get drastic into the depression. It goes quick, 0 to 60. You think of the worst things that could happen to your life. I thought, oh my gosh, I'll never get a job. I'm going to be living in some obscure redneck town drinking Mountain Dew all day. And I'm going to be the most exotic thing in that town because my name is Marcio. They're like, where's Brazil from? And we're not even, it's in the world, okay? And I thought that was going to be my life, guys. I was really sad. But I had friends. I talk about some of these friends pretty often, but I had these friends of mine, Gino, Jeremy, and Eric, and they just loved me. They reminded me that their friendship wasn't predicated on whether or not I graduated college. They loved me and reminded me, hey, you still got more in your tank. Keep going, keep pursuing, keep fighting. And as a result, I eventually got started school again and got a degree. I mean, it was a scenic route, but I got there. But the power of love from my friends inspired me to keep moving forward. So the power of love, when it becomes personal, it's life-changing. It's life-changing. And the Apostle Paul, who wrote the majority of the New Testament, talks about the powerful love and personal love of God. Because you got to understand the Apostle Paul's story. Like, this guy, for a good portion of his life, murdered Christians. Like, this guy was an executioner. He would go into towns and arrest some Christians, send others to jail, send others to the death sentence. Like, this guy was a vile, awful human being. But then he writes about how he encountered the love of God. And when he encountered the love of God through Jesus Christ, and it became personal, it radically changed him. And we're actually going to talk about this powerful love in this book in the New Testament called Romans. And the Apostle Paul wrote the book of Romans, and he wrote it to a bunch of Christians in the first century city of Rome. And in Romans chapter 8, he starts talking about the love of God. And he starts by letting us know this, that God's love is permanent. That God's love is permanent. And he starts by saying this in Romans 8:35. In Romans 8:35, he starts by saying this: who can separate us from the love of Christ? Who can separate us? And this word who could also mean what? Because he begins to list a couple of things that you're thinking, man, these are some crazy situations. Obviously, maybe some of these things can really separate you from the love of God, but he's saying, no. God's love is permanent. The moment you say yes to Jesus, it's permanent, it's personal. Something happens there. It goes from this just agape love one way to this phileo love, this brotherly love, this intimate love, this personal love. And nothing can separate you from it. Now, some of you struggle with this. Because you know what you're thinking? There's no way God could love me because, you know what? The way he talks about it, there's no way his love is that permanent, because if he knows what I'm thinking about, if he knows my past, if he only understood who I am and what I do, his love would be taken away from me. It'd be like Jesus would, go back in time and say, I'm not dying on the cross for you. And some of you feel that way. And my hope that tonight you don't. My hope is that you know that God's love is permanent, that the moment you said yes to Jesus, his love is never going to leave you. I have a friend of mine named Steve. And Steve was telling me one time of his son who was going through karate testing to get to the next belt. And the kids would come up to the stage and have to break a board. So this kid, before my friend Steve's son went up, the kid went up and cracked the board, got the belt. Everybody applauded. The kid sat down. So Steve's son, he comes up, he looks at the board, he goes at it, kicks it. The board doesn't break. Now, this is not too alarming because some other kids have, not broken the board on the first kick, and so everybody was okay. So the kid winds back up, does his karate, board doesn't break. Goes back, does it a third time, the board doesn't break, and now the audience gasps. And my friend Steve is telling me the story, and he's saying, now I am losing it. As a parent, you just want to go up there, break the board, roundhouse the instructor in the face, and get ready to take out anybody who made fun of your kid, right? That's how you feel as a parent in that moment. I mean, he was embarrassed. He was hurting for his son. Fourth time, the kid didn't break the board. Fifth time, he didn't break the board. Sixth time, he didn't break the board. The instructor just said, hey, you need to take a seat. Try again next year. son felt like a total failure. And the dad was telling me, Steve was telling me, it was in that moment when I saw my son walk down from the stage with his head down that's when I loved him the most. And we actually see the Apostle Paul write about this in Romans 5:8, that while we were still yet sinners, that while we were at our lowest point in our human existence, Christ died for us to show us that he loves us, to embrace us. And when we're at our lowest point, Jesus holds us, hugs us, and reminds us, I'm not leaving you. I'm committed to you forever. And I hope you can understand that this evening. I hope you can understand it this evening, that God's love is permanent. Because when you understand that God's love is permanent, you also see that God's love is powerful. That God's love is powerful. And in Romans 8:37, the Apostle Paul says this. In Romans 8:37, he says this. And all these things, and he listed a bunch of these situations that don't separate us from God's love. But then he says this, which is so interesting. He says, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loves us. So in all these things, it's not just that God's love won't be separated from us, but it's also that God's love will infuse us with power to make us more than conquerors. Because see, the Apostle Paul experienced tremendous amounts of pain and of suffering that he couldn't control. You know, when he's on a boat and a storm comes, and then he's just drifting in the sea, waiting to get on shore, barely making it. When he's traveling from city to city, village to village, town to town, and gets robbed, or he has to run for his life because people want to kill him, like this is out of his control. But yet Paul says, even in the midst of all that, I'm still a conqueror. How? Right? How? And this actually leads to a question that we've all asked. Honestly, we've all asked this question. If God is so powerful, why do good things happen? Why do bad things happen to good people, right? We've all asked that question. Why do bad things happen to good people? But then it hit me this week that when we ask that question, we're really making ourselves look really righteous, aren't we? We're making ourselves look like we really care about what's really going on out there. We want to make sure that when we say that to somebody, that they think that we're more compassionate than God. That's what we're saying. But the reality is, if we are all honest tonight, can we all just be a little bit honest tonight? We really don't care what's out there, about what's happening out there. We really don't. Because when you boil it down, you're just mad that if God was all powerful, why did he let your boss fire you? Hey, if God was all powerful, why hasn't he healed me of that sickness? Hey. If God's all powerful, why isn't my kid still rebelling? If God's all powerful, why did my spouse leave me? See, when it comes down to it, you're just mad at God because something you couldn't control has affected your life. And if we understand the human condition, that we're all broken, that we are dealing with a broken world, that Jesus promises that we will have trouble, we will experience trouble in this world, but that his love is so permanent that he'll never leave us, and that his love is so powerful that he's going to make us more than a conqueror. Which reminds me of a friend named Will. Will had a successful upbringing, went to church his whole life, and then went to college and just killed it there. Got a good job, met a nice girl, right? Got married, had 2 kids, and then something started happening. His wife just started going AWOL. Started causing massive problems within the marriage, and then just leaves him with 2 kids. And for 5 years, there is this intense custody battle to try to win the kids. And this guy is pouring money, resources, time, and trying to get his kids back. And he tells me that during that time, the stigma of being divorced, the stigma of being a single dad, the stigma of feeling like everything is out of control What's wrong with me? God, where are you? You know? Everything was just going crazy. So I asked him, hey, in that season of your life, okay, how did you know that God's love was powerful? How did you feel the powerful love of God? And this is what he said. This was crazy. He said, in the moments that I wanted my default habits and tendencies to win, the powerful love of God offered me hope by allowing me the strength to contradict my default system. So, for example, when he wanted to lose his lid and just be angry because his kids deserve some of his anger, his coworkers deserve some of his anger, everybody deserves some of his anger, the powerful love of God countered those actions with patience. So instead of him losing it, he's like, okay, I'm going to be patient here. You know, instead of me just lashing out, I'm going to show grace. Instead of me calling everybody idiots, I'm going to show mercy. See, the powerful love of God, what it did in that man, it showed him that, hey, through my love, through my strength, I'm going to give you hope, and I'm going to make you be a carrier of hope everywhere you go so that you will counter your default mechanism, and I'm going to show you that you're more than a conqueror. That when he felt weak and felt like giving up, God gave him strength to say, keep moving forward. Keep choosing me. The love of God is powerful. And for some of you, you're thinking, well, how do I break some of these default systems in my life, some of these default habits in my life? Have you attached yourself and have you attached yourself to Jesus Christ and understood how personal his love is? Have you? I'm telling you, because when you realize that the love of God is so personal, it becomes powerful to you, and you realize, okay, I don't want to go to church, but I'm going to go to church. I don't want to read my Bible, but I'm going to read my Bible. I don't think I should be serving now, but I'm going to serve. I'm going to do this because Jesus did it for me, and he loves me, and since God's love is personal, he knows what I'm going through, he knows my heartbreak, he knows what my soul is feeling, he knows what I want to do even though I don't want to do it. Like, God knows me. So he's giving me the power to counteract my default system. And when God's love is so personal, you're going to want to do things with God that just make sense. You want to make coming to church a priority. You want to make being a part of a small group a priority because you're part of a family who loves God together. And then there's those people that say, you know what, church isn't for me. I could just love God on my own. I don't really need church. Right. Okay. So if you have a friend who tells you, hey, I want to hang out with you, but I can't stand your family, I don't really like your family, that friendship ain't going to work. And then there's those people that say, you know what, I'm not a reader. Because God's telling, hey, read my word, read my love letter to you. And people say, I'm not a reader. Okay, you're not a reader. Try that on your boss. Go into work on Monday and say, hey, you're going to send me stuff, but I'm just letting you know I'm not a reader. Ain't going to work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm not a reader. Husbands, tell your wife you're not a reader when she sends you a text message to go pick up some stuff from the store. Honey, did you get all this stuff that I asked you? Oh, baby, guess what? I'm not a reader. Not a reader at all. That stuff doesn't work. We know this. And we do things out of love. A natural outflow of love happens when things become personal, when there's intimacy, when there's attachment, when souls become one. When your love becomes personal. And that's what God does. God created a two-way street so he can meet you right where you're at. I love this in Romans 8:38 and 39. In Romans 8:38, 39, it says this, for I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor angels nor rulers, meaning demons, okay, so the spiritual realm can't stop God from loving you, and it won't separate you from God's love, nor the things present, nor the things to come. And in other words, the fears that you have today and the worries you have for tomorrow, because every single one of us in this room, we have fears that we're struggling with today, and we have worries about tomorrow. We all have them. We all have them, and sometimes we think there's no way God loves me if I have to go through all these things. And God said, I love you, and I'm going to help you get through them. Nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing. And I love it, because by the time Paul gets to this, any other created thing, by the time he gets there, he's probably wanting to take a nap that night. He's like, man, I got a hand cramp, so I'm just going to write this blanket statement so that everyone can understand that there is nothing, absolutely nothing, zilch, nada, will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. Nothing. And until the love of God becomes personal, that's when it changes everything about you. There was a guy I met with this week. His name is Chad. And Chad grew up in a Christian home, heard about the love of God, went to Christian school, heard about the love of God, went to a Christian university, heard about the love of God. It was never personal. He's 34 years old, and it is only for the past 2 years that the love of God became really personal to him. Because while he was building his own kingdom and his own empire, he allowed things to get out of hand and started doing some things that were very shady in the business world and got in trouble with the law. And he said he was so devastated that there was a season when all of this started surfacing that he didn't leave his house for a month. For a month. He was so embarrassed. But in there, he said something to me. He's like, during that moment, I started getting personal with God. I started getting vulnerable with God. I started letting God in. I started saying, God, this is what's really going on. God, I really need you. God, I know you love me. Now it's starting to make sense. And here's what he said. This was crazy. He said that in the greatest season of suffering, he experienced his greatest moment of peace. How does that happen? Well, it happens because God's love is personal, because God promises you through his son Jesus that you're going to experience peace. And Jesus, when he gives you peace, it's like he's right with you. He's there holding you. He's not apart from you. He's not in another room. You don't have to call an intercom to get him in there. No. He is with you, because the moment you have the Spirit of God inside of you, you have Jesus with you all the time. And my friend finally understood what it meant to be personal with Jesus, and it revolutionized his life. Revolutionized his marriage, his parenting. And he finally realizes whose kingdom he needs to start building. God spared him from all the legal troubles. And now he realizes that the personal relationship he has with God in these 2 years is truly the most precious thing in his life. And some of you, it's your moment to experience the personal, powerful, permanent love of God tonight. I don't want you to leave here without experiencing this, because this is what's truly going to change you. So here's what we're going to do. It's a moment for you to experience the power of God. If you're a small group leader, could you come down here? If you're a deacon and deacon's wife, come on down here. You could come on up here. And what we're going to do, we're going to give you a moment for you to experience the power of God's love through prayer, through connecting with someone. Phyllis, could you come over here, please? Thanks, man. Phyllis is on staff with us, so it helps. Russ is coming down. Thank you, Russ. So here's what we're going to do. And we're going to sing a song in a minute, okay? But I don't want you to leave this moment without experiencing the love of God. So while the song's going on, I'm going to pray. Well, actually, what's going to happen is I'm going to pray, then the song's going to start, and I'm going to ask you to stand. When you stand, this is your chance to respond to the love of God. You could come down here and you could stop it to any one of us and say, hey, I'm ready to give my life to Christ. And that's all you need to say, and we'll walk you through that process. Or maybe you just come up here and say, hey, you don't need to say anything. Just come up to us and we'll just pray. We'll just pray with you that you experience the personal love of Jesus Christ. Do not walk away tonight without experiencing it, without having a supernatural interaction with your Heavenly Father. Don't leave here. Don't leave here tonight without that. Don't leave here. This is where everything begins to change. So, when I pray, you guys are all going to stand. And then just come on down. Just pray with us. And go back and worship. Go back and worship. Go back and tell God, thank you that I've encountered you, that I've experienced your love today. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much that you love us. Heavenly Father, thank you that you did everything. You didn't spare nothing. You didn't hold anything back. You wanted us to see that love requires 100% commitment, and you loved us with that 100% commitment. So God, we ask you to, you know what? Do something supernatural in us so that we could experience your love in a way we haven't before. I pray for that person who feels uncomfortable and thinking, should I come down? Should I come down? Yes, you should come down because we've all done uncomfortable things in the name of love. And this is your moment to experience the powerful love of Jesus Christ. So God, move people today to experience your love in the name of Jesus. Amen. The band's going to sing. This is your moment. This is your moment to experience the love